Hi all, I'd like to thank the Conservation Symposium Committee for giving me an opportunity to share my research work which I did during my MSc between 2018 and 2019. My name is Pastor Mogonong. I am currently a PhD candidate at Wits University. I'll be presenting to you a chapter of my MSc work that is titled Land Cover Change in Marginalized Landscapes of South Africa, 1984 to 2014, Implications for Socio-ecological Resilience. And we are currently busy preparing a manuscript to have this data published. Marginalized landscapes in South Africa are subjected to rapid land use and land cover change because these landscapes are normally found in areas that are heavily populated, areas that are underdeveloped, and most of the people obtain resources from the neighboring environment around them. Commonly, these landscapes are found in former apartheid homelands in South Africa. Land use and land cover change in these landscapes are influenced by various factors such as politics, particularly local authorities such as the chief. Culture also influences how people use the land around them. The changes are thus site-specific, depending on the history of the area in question. Moreover, the patterns of change may differ based on the scale at which the analysis is done. So, knowing all this information, I wondered whether the patterns of land use and land cover change in response to changes in socio-economic and political factors. The aim of the project was then to understand the patterns of land cover change in marginalized landscapes and its implications for socio-ecological resilience. The study was conducted in KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa. Two local municipalities, Okahlamba and Imbabazane local municipalities, were selected as the case study areas to assess land cover change over a 30-year period. Common activities in the area include subsistence farming of crops and livestock, while the local authority governs land use practices in the area, combined with the democratic governance that also influences how people use land around them. We used Landsat imagery, which has a moderate resolution of 30 meters. The data is downloadable from the USGS website that is given on the slide. We downloaded winter imagery, August in particular, mainly because these images have less cloud interference. The downloaded images were geometrically corrected already, thus the pre-processing step done was radiometric correction and atmospheric correction to clean up the minor atmospheric noises on the images. We also used socioeconomic data from StatsSA and semi-structured interviews to get a sense of how people perceive landscapes around them. A total of 30 households interviews were conducted per local municipality across 6 villages. This is a flow diagram of how land cover data was classified and analyzed for the case study local municipalities. 3 time frames were selected for the analysis in order to capture social and political influence on land cover change. The data was dependent on the availability of quality Landsat images. Hence, the analysis was started from 1984. Image pre-processing was mainly atmospheric corrections, followed by image processing, which had 3 steps of training data generation, followed by image classification using random forest classifier in RStudio, and accuracy assessment. The accuracy of the classified images ranged from 87% to 90%, indicating a good overall score of land cover classification by the model. Land cover change analysis was done following Aldrich and Pontius 2012 intensity analysis method, which is able to assess the magnitude of rate of land cover change over time. This methodology is also able to detect the transitions that occur between land cover categories. These are land cover maps generated for each time period for both local municipalities. 9 classes were used, and these ranged from natural to man-made features. The gray areas on the map represent protected areas that are found within the boundaries of both local municipalities. These areas were excluded from the land cover change analysis in order to avoid biasness towards natural vegetation cover. Our data has shown high dominance of grassland, covering over 60% in Mbabazane local municipality and over 70% in Okahlamba local municipality. The landscape in Okahlamba local municipality experienced a net change of 3.5% between 1984 and 1991, while between 1991 and 2014, a net change of 15.9% was experienced. During this time, grassland experienced an overall decline of 14.2% in the landscape. In Mbabazane local municipality, the net change was higher compared to Okahlamba local municipality, with 17.1% between 1984 and 1991, while 26.6% net change was observed between 1991 and 2014. During this time, grassland experienced a net decline of 26.5% in the landscape. These graphs showed the rate of change annually in the landscapes. The changes in the landscapes have slowed down recently when compared against the uniform rate of change at both local municipalities. The uniform rate of change refers to a change that is occurring randomly in the landscape as opposed to a systematic change. The changes in between land cover category have shown that grassland will transition to cropland and settlement. However, settlement will also encroach into other, usually bare areas. Cropland transitioned with fallow, usually due to crop rotation on commercial farms. Grassland transitioned with fallow fields, where these grassland patches are secondary grasslands and require further studying to quantify the biodiversity in these patches. Having seen the patterns of change, we used socio-economic data to assess if these factors affect land cover change over time. The two graphs show the population changes in the two local municipalities, and the overall decline in population numbers coincide with the reduced rate of land cover conversion in the study area during the recent times, indicating that population might have an influence on land cover change. When speaking to the locals regarding their perception of the landscape around them, 70% of the respondents in both local municipalities have expressed that the landscape is degraded, and hence they have adopted to other means of sustaining their livelihoods. This indicates a social system that is resilient to changes in land cover. There is a perceived loss of power by the local traditional authorities, indicating that in recent times people have the freedom to use their land however they want. These might have implications for the grasslands in the area if there is a rapid increase in development, for example, settlement expansion. Loss of power by the local authorities is also documented elsewhere in the country. However, the ecological systems in those areas still show some form of resilience, meaning that the dominance of grassland that we are seeing in this study might show some form of resilience as well in this area. Further interview data has also shown that people adapt to different livelihood strategies, which may lead to a reduced rate of land cover conversion in these landscapes. For example, there is a general notion of increasing home gardens as opposed to owning big crop fields by small-scale subsistence farmers. Crop fields are also reduced to an average of about 1.5 hectares in size. The importance of livestock has also seemed to have reduced over time, meaning that at fine scale, rural communities are adjusting towards non-land-based strategies. However, the high dominance of grassland in these landscapes show that not only the social system is resilient, but the ecological system is also persistent in the marginalized landscape. Grassland persistence is threatened by the increasing of cropland and settlement in this region, indicating that the sustainability of the natural vegetation and its biodiversity may be at risk if conservative measures are not taken into account. Adopting to other land uses or livelihood strategies show a social system that is resilient. However, the weakening of local authorities can be a threat to livelihoods and biodiversity sustainability, despite the socio-ecological resilience that is shown by the marginalized landscapes in South Africa. In conclusion, our study has shown that grassland was dominant in the landscape, despite having experienced a reduction over the study period. The rate of land cover conversion was also reduced in recent times, and these might relate to social changes such as population changes as well as livelihood strategies changes. These also can relate to political changes such as weakening of local authorities. But overall, our study has shown that these case study municipalities have shown some form of socio-ecological resilient system whereby grassland was dominant and people were able to adapt to changes when they perceived the landscape to be degraded. I'd like to acknowledge the following organizations for the involvement in making this research a success. Thank you all for listening to my talk, and I am happy to take questions at the end of the session. Thank you.